Chelsea Football Club complete the signing of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and Dennis Zakaria. Arsenal failing their attempts at Douglas Luiz. And it has been revealed officially from Samuel Luckhurst that Man United had an agreement on personal terms with Frankie de Jong, but couldn't get the deal completed. We're going to take a look and speak to you today and review your club's transfer window. How do you feel your club did? How do you feel your club performed? How do you feel your club delivered for you over the course of this window? This is the chance for you to have your say this morning. But Chelsea spend nearly £300 million, address the majority, if not all, of their problem areas. What are the expectations on Thomas Tuchel? Have KSE and Arsenal Football Club let Arteta down by not strengthening the squad further? Have Man United done enough? Did Liverpool leave it too late? Is Spurs' window overrated? We want to hear from you and get your opinions this morning on the Done Deal Show. Let's go. Welcome back, everybody, to the Football Terrace. I hope you're having brilliant starts to your day. I hope you're all doing very, very good indeed. The window is shut. And listen, you all know how much I enjoy the transfer window. You all know how enjoyable I find it. And I absolutely love it. You all know this. It doesn't need to be explained to any of you. So a little bit, I wouldn't say that the word sad would probably be the wrong word to use, that the window is over. But it is. It's over. It's done. It's finished. And we now look forward to football without any real distractions. You know, there's 2 games a week between now and the World Cup, pretty much. And then after that, it's going to be the same. It's going to be a very, very, very enthralling season, no doubt about it whatsoever. And transfer deadline day was full of trials, tribulations, ups, downs, ebb and flow. Very, very enjoyable. It's annoying there's a football match on the same day, if I'm being honest with you. We really didn't want to see that at all. But lots to kind of delve into this morning and speak to you about and get your views and opinions on. What I would love for you to do is smash the like button right now. If we hit 750 likes while we're live, I'll gift out more free memberships to you. So make sure you're smashing like buttons. And I want to hear from you all today. I want to hear from you all today in relation to how you feel your club did and why. Don't just, it's fine if you say 6 out of 10 and then write Tottenham next to it, but I'd love to know some rationale behind that as well. I want to get your thoughts and feelings, but I wanted to start with Man United. Man United is such an interesting one for me because Man United have signed very good players. You can't get away from the players that Man United have signed. United have signed some very, very good players. Casemiro, one of the best midfielders in the world. Lisandro Martinez, I think, will become a top-class centre-back. I think Malacia has got a lot of talent. Anthony, we've yet to see play. Definitely overpriced with what Man United have paid, but a player that Ten Hag is desperate for. Ten Hag doesn't believe there are available players out there in the market that will reach his standards. So it was a player that he really pushed hard for. But of course, there was always the one that got away. You know, Man United's window for me, I would probably give it a 6.5 to 7 out of 10. Not timely enough, slightly overpaid on certain players. We're going to move on to De Jong. Should have moved away from him a little bit sooner, I believe. If Casemiro starts the season, maybe we don't get beat the way we do. Also got to throw in there the fact we've signed Christian Eriksen, who's been excellent in his opening 3 games in controlling the flow of the ball for large parts of matches in the last 3 games anyway. And he was a free transfer. So there has been some good business for Manchester United, no doubt. But Frankie de Jong getting away is still a problem. Frankie de Jong is a bit of an issue. And what was really interesting to see this morning was what Samuel Luckhurst had to say. And that was that Manchester United had an agreement in place for, I was reading it here, for the player, but the deferred wages held it up. And that in itself isn't the issue for me. The fact that the deferred wages were there isn't really my problem or concern with it. We knew that was the case all along. And I kind of tweeted this morning that, you know, on the terrace, we've been talking about this for 2 months. There was an agreement with Man United. Personal terms are not going to be an issue, but the player was never, ever going to give up his deferred wages. He was never giving up those deferred wages. He was never going to turn around and suddenly just be happy and willing to give up that £17 million that Manchester United essentially said, we're not committing to paying you that extra because that puts you on like 600 grand a week. And we're not going to pay a player 600 grand a week. And a lot of people will say that's spin. A lot of people will say, well, you overpaid for Anthony, so why would you not overpay for him? Do your research on football finance, and you suddenly have a player on 600 grand a week who's not kicked the ball at your club, which is double that of Cristiano Ronaldo, 3 times as high, so more than double that of David De Gea, 3 times as much as Marcus Rashford, more than 3 times as much as Bruno Fernandes. You are going to cause a problem. And if the team starts to perform, everybody's going to want a pay increase of similar levels. The club can't afford to do that. So there was no way, like people always look at a transfer fee as being the biggest outgoing. Over the life of a player at a football club, the wages and bonuses can often be a bigger outlay, especially if it kickstarts the reaction of everybody getting increased wages. Far more expensive for a football club. So seeing this news that came out, and we'll put it up on the screen so you can see it here. The managing Barca account obviously shared it. Man United had reached a verbal agreement with Frankie de Jong's agent, including salary and contract terms. And we already knew this. Like, legitimately, we already knew this. As I tweeted this morning, for the past 2 months, United rightfully refusing to pay the deferred money, and he remains at Barcelona. Whether he gets regular playing time or not is completely and utterly, we don't know yet. I still think he could end up regretting his decision. But I think it's a transfer that Man United will revisit. I think it's a player that United will come back for. There was always a desire from the player to join United, but as stated, as far back as June, he was never walking away from the £17 million that Barcelona rightfully owe him. And I think it's a deal that Man United and other clubs will explore again in January. I think it's a deal that clubs will definitely look at again next summer, especially if the player isn't regularly in the first team. But overall, as I say, 6.5 out of 7, I would probably give Man United's window. Some top-class players have been brought into the football club, but the timing of some of these deals, we probably should have walked away from De Jong a little bit sooner and gone for Casemiro as an example. And I would have liked a better resolution over Ronaldo. I still would have probably preferred Ronaldo to have been moved on if possible, and a centre forward coming into the fray. But we were always going to have 2 or 3 holes minimum in our first team after this window. Right back, potentially still a new goalkeeper, definitely an additional midfielder, and of course a long-term replacement for Ronaldo. There's 4 positions really, maybe not 2 or 3, maybe 4 gaping holes still in this team that have to be addressed over January and next summer. But for Ten Hag's first summer, I think it's been fairly successful. Wolves here says embarrassing 3 months, Frankie de Jong chase. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call it embarrassing because Man United got the agreement with Barcelona pretty quickly. They got the agreement with the player pretty quickly. It wasn't Man United holding up this deal. The frustration for me when you now look back is we should have moved on a little bit sooner. We probably shouldn't have left it as late as we did to move on. And that's a mistake for the club to hold. But Man United rectified that mistake. Man United rectified that mistake. We didn't end up with Arthur Melo. We didn't end up chasing a substandard player on deadline day. We ended up getting Casemiro. So the embarrassment, if people want to call it that, has been subsidized. And we'll touch on that a little bit later because a few clubs got rejected this summer or didn't land their main targets. But it's all about who you get instead of. Chelsea didn't get De Ligt. They didn't get Koundé, but they got Fofana and Koulibaly. So there is no embarrassment when they replace the player you get instead is of similar level and maybe in some people's eyes better. So yeah, look, pretty decent in that. De Jong coming in January. Listen, if he isn't playing, then he absolutely could. The De Jong saga made this transfer window difficult. See the Glazers out because the window is good negotiations not. Listen, I'm still Glazers out no matter what. You could even call it a good summer for Man United, but it's not about having one good summer. This is why, and I'm going to get onto Arsenal in a minute. I think Arsenal fans have let themselves down a bit, but say we have a really good season this year because we've spent well this year. The reason I won't start praising the Glazers is they need to, whatever they've spent this year and the amount of players we've bought, we need that again next summer, irrespective of how good or bad we do this year. That's when you know that you're moving in the right direction. Do we ever do it? Do we ever really do it 2 or 3 years running to build the squad the manager wants? We haven't done it for a decade, so I'm not going to start praising them yet. Yes, make sure you're smashing that like and that share button, people. But I want you to rate right now in the comments section Manchester United's transfer window for me out of 10 and why. Daniel here says Frankie de Jong playing 4D chess. Casemiro, not bad. Not a bad fullback. Absolutely. Not a bad fullback at all. So, yeah, absolutely. Terry even put 5K for donations. But I was right, though. He didn't reject Man United. He agreed terms. He just didn't get the deferred wages. I said to you all, if the deferred wages get agreed and he agrees to leave I said if he agrees to leave Barcelona, he would not reject Man United unless it was for a big Champions League team. And he did get his deferred wages. So, but he agreed terms with us. I was absolutely spot on the whole time. Told you this was what it was, and the story would come out afterwards. In fact, the story was out before it, but there we go. We're going to get on to Sunday a little bit later in the show, so keep those comments coming. Man City fan here says we had a 10 out of 10 window. I think City's is close to 10 out of 10. I would probably give it a 9. I think the defender you bought last minute's okay. We'll see how he does, but it's brilliant. I think Calvin Phillips is an excellent signing. Alvarez, brilliant. And then you've signed, for me, the best goal scorer since R9. The best young, natural goal scorer since R9. I know people say, but Ronaldo and Messi are better. They weren't better at putting balls in the back of the net at Haaland's age. I don't think Haaland will ever be as good as either Ronaldo or Messi or R9. But in terms of a goal scorer, we haven't seen someone like him. Listen, pound for pound, age for age, he's clear of Lewandowski. He's clear of Thierry Henry. He's clear of Rooney. He's clear of Cantona. He's clear of Lewandowski, Suarez. In terms of scoring goals, he's clear of them all at this age. What a signing they've made there. Ty says 95 million for Anthony is a laugh. It's certainly, well, it's 85 million. It's certainly a hell of a lot of money. Let's see how he performs. If he's scoring, assisting, driving the team forward, it's great. I mean, what I haven't seen now for 10 days, 11 days, is anybody mention the 50 million pounds Man United have spent on Lisandro Martinez. Suddenly, his price tag is being ignored because he's playing well. So if he comes into the team and is good, that won't be mentioned at all. It won't be mentioned one little bit, in my opinion. I want to move on to talk Arsenal. I want to speak about Arsenal's window this morning as well, people. Arsenal's window is a weird one to me. Because it's going to be hard for people to digest what I'm about to say, because there'll be elements of it that on the surface may even sound slightly controversial, or more so might sound contradictory as opposed to controversial, maybe more contradictory. So the reason that I say that is because Gabriel Jesus is brilliant business. Zinchenko is very good business. You look at the deal for Fabio Vieira, good price. Not a lot of people know about him, so there's an element of is it right? Is it wrong? I think he's a talented player by what I've read, what things that I've seen. But that's all they bought. They got Marquinhos, really young player, Matt Turner. I'll be honest with you, it's a bit like Man United signed Dubravka. I don't really count that. Chelsea signings, I'm not really looking at the kids right now. That's a longer term strategy. They signed 3 players, Arsenal. The 3 players they've bought, we've already seen so far have moved the needle for Arsenal. They've become a better team. There's no doubt about it. 118 million pounds spent. Very good. That for me is like a 7 for Arsenal. The timely manner pushes it to an 8. Very good window. The age of the players, the experience of the players. The way Arsenal have started the season kind of echoes this. Good team already. The new signings have galvanized very quickly with their current squad, and Arsenal have gone to another level. Arsenal looks sensational. But I don't feel the Cronkies, and in turn Edu, and the reason I mention the Cronkies, I think this is a financial decision. I think they have let Arteta and the Arsenal fans down in the end. They could have had a 10 window, 10 out of 10. A Douglas Luiz, a Yuri Tillemans, as an example. Pedro Neto, as an example. These, in my view, are two players that the club should have been. These are players as examples, and there might be other names out there that people talk about that Arsenal Football Club should have broke the bank for. Now, you were going to get the Arsenal spin, and I'm sure there'll be some comments already. I haven't looked at the comment section yet. I'm sure there'll be big Twitter accounts talking about, no, we have to spend the right money on the right players at the right time. That is code for the owners didn't give us more money. That is what that means. Arsenal are at a point where you were looking for backup for Thomas Partey, or you were looking for an additional player to challenge Granit Xhaka. I understand if the only way you can improve your midfield is would be buying someone of the level of Verratti, or the only way you can make your midfield better is buying someone of the quality of a Rodri. Then I can understand you not spending the money. Just to buy another El Neni would be crazy, right? But you were looking at either some backups to give you some more strength in depth, or quality above what you've already got. And I look at the midfield, and I think Yuri Tielemans, Douglas Luiz as examples. Dennis Zakaria that went to Chelsea yesterday. These are players Arsenal should have gone and bought. Equally, the wide players, I think Martinelli and Saka are great. It's when you start to look beyond that. Now, I know people say, well, Fabio Vieira can play right wing. He's played on the right wing 2 times in his entire career. Arsenal simply cannot have scouted him in those positions regularly enough because he doesn't play there. Maybe he'll come in and play in that position and do very, very well. Maybe he will not. But I feel like Arsenal needed some backup, especially for Saka. Now, Arsenal Football Club, that the fans will spin this, and some of the tier ones will spin this as it's the strategy, it's the process. We couldn't find the right talent at the right price, and we'll look again in January. We'll look again next summer. We're really happy with what we've got. For me, it is simply the Cronkies not giving Edu and Arteta enough money. That's how I kind of look at this, and I sort of look at it along the lines of, and you are right, Basuma was available as well, and Spurs got him, and at the time it was like, we don't need him, we've got Thomas Partey. By the end of the window, Arsenal fans are showing their true colours, or some, by saying we should have got a DM, but pretended they weren't bothered by it earlier on in the window. And this is what happens when you toe the party line. This is what happens when you don't think for yourself, or you don't express what you really think and feel. As you see it all come out last night with Edu out trending. And I said all summer, I just felt the whole cooling interest on Tielemans thing didn't sound right to me. This lie that they spun of they're going to call on Tielemans, buy Rafinha or a player like Rafinha, buy the defender they need, and then come back for the midfielder later. I said all the way back then, it feels like they're pulling the wool over Arsenal fans' eyes. And I'm annoyed that they've done it to Arsenal fans. I don't like it when clubs treat their fans in this way. But what I find even more nauseating is Arsenal fans that then defend it. It's like Stockholm syndrome. They're defending the poor elements. Now, let me caveat this, though. This is the contradictory part. I still think Arsenal can come third. I still think Arsenal can have an excellent season. So some will say, well, if we can come third, in your opinion, Terry, we can still have an excellent season, then why are you saying that we should have got more players? Because I'm not just thinking about this season. You might miss out by a hair's breadth. You may get an injury that stops all of this. But equally, who knows where you're going to be next year, what other teams are coming in, how a player's mind might change in terms of direction of where they're going to go. And you look at Pedro Neto as a prime example. He's the number 1 wing target that Arsenal had after Rafinha. What if Liverpool buy it? What if Liverpool or City come in for him? What if City look at him and go, that's the long-term replacement for Riyad Mahrez? That could be a player that's now gone that you can't get, as an example. Liverpool might say, oh, we want a bit of that. You know, we need some proper competition for Mo Salah. He's getting on a bit. He's got a new deal, but we want to bring you in and go to another level. What if Barcelona? What if Real Madrid? I'm just throwing names out there, and Arsenal are just not quite in the position to secure it when he was available this year at this point. I understand that spending money is like balancing the books is important, but I just feel like this could come back to haunt Arsenal when they're in the ascendancy, the feel-good factors there. They should have done it. And if they do miss out on top 4 by 5 points, if they do miss out because a couple of these key areas suffer injuries, I think the Arsenal fans will feel let down by their football club. And that's all I'm really calling out here. And I still think it's been a very good window for Arsenal. I still think they're in a really good position as a football club. But I just feel like they could have done a little bit more. Why would Arsenal pay more than 25 million for Luiz when he's only got 1 year left on his contract? But that isn't the point, is it? That's a fair argument. Fair argument. But you started the negotiations on deadline day for him, but as a reaction to two players getting injured, not leaving you enough time to keep pushing. If you'd have gone for Douglas Luiz even 3 weeks ago and got the play, you got personal terms agreed with the player inside a few hours. If you'd have gone in for him 3 weeks ago, he would have been pushing, and you could have eroded that price down. There just wasn't enough time to get the price down yesterday. So I understand the logic of we shouldn't pay 40 million for him. That's a fair point. But you were being asked to do that because Villa didn't want to lose him on deadline day. But you left it until deadline day to try and get the deal done. And I remember Gal sitting on here and saying, yeah, but if we leave certain deals to deadline day, like Tillemans or the midfielder, we'll get them cheaper. That's such a big gamble. And if that was the gamble, if this was the preordained plan, it failed. Therefore, you should be frustrated still. And this is what I would say to football fans. You can be frustrated at your football club for making a mistake, but still back them. You know, I've got people I work with that I respect and like. If they make a mistake, I'll tell them they've made a mistake. But it doesn't mean all the other great pieces of work they've done suddenly I don't appreciate, like, or respect. Doesn't mean they're going to lose their job. It's about being honest. And I think we need to be honest with our football clubs instead of blowing smoke up their asses. And Arsenal Football Club, not Arteta, not the players, but the board running the club have dropped a ball here. Because in the end, they agree with me, they need another midfielder. They just left it too late to get it done. So it doesn't matter which way around you paint it, there's a mistake being made by Arsenal Football Club. And the fans have got to hope and pray that it doesn't impact their season too negatively. Let's look at some more of your comments. When the expectations is top four and the teams around Arsenal have had better windows, it should be a worry. This is going to be the most physically demanding season ever. They needed depth, is what Kieran's got to say. I think that's a fair point. Arsenal's window is a 7 out of 10, but I think they require backup winger and a backup CDM. I get you on that. I'll come to Liverpool a little bit later when I see comments about them. Arsenal on top, please shut up. Listen, I've already said you're brilliant. And the irony in it is this: whenever I praise Arsenal, I'm called a secret Arsenal fan. Whenever I say they could have done something a little bit better, I'm called out as being a hater. I'm not hating on Arsenal. I'm speaking my mind. I'm speaking the truth. The same as I say that I'm scared of Arsenal. So when I say I'm scared of Arsenal and I think you're dangerous, suddenly people are like, Terry's so unbiased. I say I think your owners should have given you more money and strengthened the squad further to give you better guarantees, better rotational abilities, more protection against injuries. Now suddenly I'm a hater. Come on, my friend. It can't work both ways. Absolutely disappointed by Arsenal's window. We needed a midfielder or two since January, and now we also need a winger. This will hurt us until January. 5 out of 10 is the rating here. I mean, I think that's a little bit low. But I understand your logic. I just think your rating is a little bit too low. Don't worry, Terry. Arsenal have their trophy best team in North London at the moment. Jay thinks Arsenal's window is a 7 out of 10, but I think they require a backup winger and a backup CDM. This comment here says, deja vu, Terry. This is the only reason we missed out on top four last year. They never learn. Cocky Arsenal fans about to be humbled and crushed is what Jamie's has got to say. Carl B here says, if Arsenal beat United Sunday, then fans will forget about the window. No option but to do the talking on the pitch now. Listen, and Arsenal got a great opportunity and chance to beat Man United this window, this Sunday. You know, you're a better team than us right now. You're in better form than us right now. You've been with your manager nearly 3 years. We're 5 games into our rebuild. Arsenal are the favourites. Arsenal got the better team. Arsenal should be winning the football match. There's no doubt. But it shouldn't paper over the cracks. The same as Man United fans shouldn't lose focus on how bad the Glazers are because we've won 3 games on the bounce. You've got to keep the Man United fans and Arsenal fans are both in the same boat. Arsenal were just further along in their rebuild. None of us should be talking about our owners as being good, our clubs as being run well. We're not yet. We're at different stages. But Arsenal, Man United have done some really good things this summer and some nice changes. But you've got to maintain that. Arsenal are progressing nicely, but there's still multiple hurdles to jump until you're back to being one of the best teams in Europe because you're not there yet. And the pressure should remain. Be happy with what you've achieved, but keep going. You know, you can't afford for the owners to get cheap now, in my opinion. I want to say a big thank you here to I can't find the button now. Where's the button? And here it is. Thank you very much, my friend, for becoming an official member of the Football Terrace. A legend and super fan of that as well. Our biggest package as a member. So thank you very, very much. And all of our squad members and above will get early access to the 12th man that's being recorded today for the Man United Arsenal preview. We're also doing a Merseyside derby version as well. So there's 12th mans coming out this weekend, but our members will get early access to the Man United game. So you'll get that. It'll be on our homepage. It's there. I need more. We've got a lot of members. I need more of you watching some of our member content, by the way. You need to go and get that done for us. The Guna Paul here says, roll on January window. We got to hope for no more injuries. And then there is a World Cup coming. The biggest laugh was thinking Partey would stay longer than 5 games. I read somewhere, and I don't know how true this is. I'm going to go and look at this now. I read somewhere that Thomas Partey has missed somewhere in the region, and I could be wrong, so I don't want to state this until I go and check it. I'm looking for his name now. I've got to go to his injury record. I read somewhere that Thomas Partey has missed something like 40% of available games for Arsenal. So since he's been at Arsenal, he's had 5 injuries, which have accumulated to him missing 20, 24, 28, 31 games plus these last couple. So it's now 30. So about he's missed nearly a full season's worth of games since he's been here. And he joined when? In 2020. So in 2 years, he's missed like 30 odd games. Wow. It's quite a lot. And not quite 42%. I'm just saying, I've read that stat on Twitter. I didn't verify it myself, but it's a lot of games. Yeah. There we go. Paul Pogba missed 45% available. Yeah, I know he did. And that's why it's funny. I remember we had Rob Blanchett on the show, and everyone was saying, should Man United give Pogba a new deal? And he said, no, he's not. Pogba wants 400 grand a week, but he misses 3 months to 4 months of the year injured. Why would you do that? Availability is the best ability. Doesn't matter how good you are. If you're not fit, if you're not ready, if you're not available, you're typically gonna let your club down. So what's going to happen? United have been very good on the counter-attack for years now. They're still a very good team and have a lot of very good players. They still look a bit shaky, but Arsenal are going to attack and might fail. How do you all feel about that game? Obviously, we're going to be on Straight Facts talking about that in more detail later today with Jess, but how are you all feeling about Arsenal coming to Old Trafford? Give me your thoughts in the comment section, my people. Now, I want to move on and talk a little bit about Chelsea, because Chelsea obviously had... Chelsea signed Zakaria and Aubameyang yesterday. And I can't lie, I feel like Chelsea had a brilliant window. No cap. I feel like they had a really good window. I'm looking at their incomings and outgoings now, and it's really good. They spent 250 odd million. I thought it was 290 odd, but 200 and hang on a second. Let me just update this this tweet, because I nearly put in. I don't want to put. It was a little bit. I thought I spent a little bit more than that. They spent a lot of money, Chelsea. They've bought a lot of players, Chelsea. But how do you all think they've done? Like, how do you all think legitimately they've done? I'd love to know. Like, I'd love to know how you think. I'm just typing out a tweet here, so sorry I'm taking a little bit of time to speak. I'm looking at the players that they bought in: Fofana, Cucurella, Sterling, Koulibaly, Aubameyang, Dennis Zakaria. You know, they've signed some real good young players as well. Like, some serious business. And in fairness, they did raise £50 million through sales. And they'll probably get a fair amount for Lukaku when they sell him. And they did lose quite a few players. I was a little bit surprised to see Billy Gilmore go, but he did. 13 million they got for Emerson as an example. But they've done really good business, Chelsea. You know, and I think for me, I had Chelsea. It's kind of weird. I put Chelsea in third place this window because their time-wise was a little bit off, but you can't really help that. But you now start to look at it. They got the DM that their fans were so desperate for. They got a goal scorer they were desperate for. They've got a goal scorer and a creator in Raheem Sterling they were desperate for. They've improved their fullback position. They signed Koulibaly and Fofana to strengthen up the centre-back areas. And I think Koulibaly and Fofana are better than Rudiger and Christensen. So they've improved in that area. And look, Chelsea got a lot of banter all year for the time it took to get things done. Chelsea got banter because they got rejected by De Ligt and the Rafinha situation, and of course George Koundé. We had those three rejections. But let's deep it for a second. They didn't get Rafinha, but they ended up with Raheem Sterling and Aubameyang. Pretty damn good. And next year they're going to be looking at Rafael Leao. They're going to be looking at Christian Nkunku. So over the period of a year, that's not an issue. They got rejected by De Ligt and by Koundé, but they ended up with Koulibaly and Fofana, better options. They went and stole Cucurella away from Manchester City in a brilliant deal for one of the best left backs in the league. They signed Raheem Sterling, as I've already mentioned, one of the best players the Premier League's had in the last 5 to 6 years. And then they needed a DM. And yes, they first of all went for Edson Alvarez. Didn't work. They were trying to bring in Frankie de Jong, and they couldn't get the deal done either because of the deferred wages. Same thing as Man United. And then they ended up with Dennis Zakaria. Now, late yesterday, everybody tried to spin things and say, bad window, panic buy of Zakaria, rare tear. However, I can't sit there and say that. Otherwise, I look like a hypocrite, because I believe truly that Dennis Zakaria is a good player. Now, whether he makes it in the Prem or not is another thing. I wanted him at Man United, so I'd be a big hypocrite to come out and say, rubbish player, panic buy. I think he's talented. It hasn't worked out for him at Juve. It hasn't. But that doesn't mean that he isn't a good football player. Just because you don't deliver in Italy doesn't mean you won't deliver in the Prem. Thierry Henry, Philippe Coutinho are just two examples of this. Players that came to the Prem and went up a level. Equally, you can be a footballer that doesn't ever do it in the Prem, but you're brilliant everywhere else you go. Diego Forlan and Juan Sebastian Veron stand out as examples of this. And you've probably all got your own examples of players that have done well in the Prem and not been great out of it, and vice versa. I think that Zakaria is a very good piece of business for Chelsea, and it gives them that extra stability in the middle. It is a loan deal. I think they may have an option to buy in it, but it's very good. It's very, very good. And I would probably give their window a 7.5, between a 7.5 and an 8.5, because of the quality they brought in, the timely fashion, some of the kind of the nature of the way they went about their business probably could have been better. But overall, Chelsea did really, really well. And I don't think that should be ignored by Chelsea fans or rivals. And Chelsea have been laughed at all summer, written off all summer, goaded all summer. And I've never really understood it. They haven't started the season well, and I understand that. But they've still signed a lot of excellent players. Let's just paint the picture of Tuchel flops. Tuchel falls away. Tuchel ends up not being good enough at his job. They've still got these players. There's still some serious talent in this squad, and they've done very, very well. And I am now sitting here thinking that maybe Chelsea move up to number 2. Maybe Chelsea become the second most productive team this window in terms of addressing holes, buying quality. They just miss out on the timely manner of their deals. But barring Man City, and you could argue Man United got their business done just before deadline day. Barring Man City, every team, and this is the irony, you had certain clubs laughing at Chelsea, laughing at Man United, going, look how late you're leaving your business. And these men were all scrapping about on deadline day trying to sign players. So when you actually look at it now with hindsight, which is the most lucrative commodity on earth, Chelsea have probably had the second best transfer window on paper out there. Quality, investment, and addressing holes in those areas. The only thing they lose out on is timings. And if they'd have signed all these players in the first 6 weeks of the window, I think they've had a very different start to this season and been a little bit better prepared. Would have taken Zakaria at United. Yeah, I agree. I think everybody would have taken him at Man United. I have taken him at Man United. I do. Everybody was talking about him in January, and he goes to Juve and starts poorly, and everyone goes, that's it, bad player. I don't think he's been there struggling long enough for his ability just to have gone and fallen away at all. Comment here from, by the way, thank you very much to my friend here for becoming a brand new member of the Terrace. Really do appreciate that, my friend. I appreciate people that support the Terrace in that way. It means a great deal to us. So thank you. I'm not too sure what, let's just go. Oh, right. if people are spamming Levy out, you can leave that in. That's not too much of an issue. Becoming an academy member. So thank you very much, my friend, for doing that. Thank you very much indeed. Abdul here says, Terry, why are you acting as if Man United and Chelsea couldn't have offered De Jong the 17 million sign-on bonus? You didn't have to match his wages. I understand where you're coming from, and that's a good point. But then you're just moving the goalposts, aren't you? You know, you're moving those goalposts. 17 million, however you dress it up, is 17 million. Whether it's a signing on fee, whether it's in his wages, whether it's we paid that much additional on top to Barcelona and they then paid him that money. You start giving the players that extra money and you can create a problem within your dressing room. Well, when I sign my new deal, I want this kind of bonus. Well, I want that bonus. I want this. If you're paying 17 million pounds for De Jong on top of everything, every other bonus he's going to have, by the way, he'll still want his loyalty bonuses. He'll still want his win bonuses. He'll still want his Champions League qualification bonuses. So if suddenly Frankie de Jong is getting all the same bonuses as Ronaldo, as Bruno, as Rashford, as Varane, as Casemiro, but he then gets an extra 17 million pound on top because his previous club are behaving, your club are behaving like scandalous criminals, that's going to create a problem. Like Man United and Chelsea were both absolutely right to not pay Barcelona's debts. They were absolutely right to not create a precedent at their own football club and a problem at their own football club just to help Barcelona out. And yes, signing Frankie de Jong would have helped our football teams, but you have to sometimes think bigger. Man United have been stung in the past for signing the wrong players for the wrong reasons at the wrong times, and that all surrounding money. Alexis Sanchez is a prime example of that. He didn't really want to be here. We paid him crazy money. He was on stupid amounts compared to everybody else. He didn't want to be here after a few games, and then it created a real big issue and problem. Even if Alexis Sanchez wanted to be at Man United and was performing well, it still creates an issue when a player comes in on almost double, in some cases 3 times as much as other senior players in the squad. One of Man United's biggest bugbears, whenever you've read about the problems that are going on at the club, has been the imbalance within the wage structure. To have done this, like day one for under Ten Hag's reign, would have been absolutely catastrophic. And I said this many times over the summer. I've said it many times over the last 9 years. So this isn't suddenly some new excuse that I'm coming up with. This is my fervent belief. Chelsea echoed that as well. Liverpool looked at it as well and didn't want to do it. In fact, your own football club didn't want to pay him that 17 million pounds. So why would Man United and other clubs, my friend? So we could have done it, but we're absolutely right to not have done it. And Frankie de Jong's a top-class player. I would have loved him in the team. But sometimes in life, you don't cut your nose off to spite your face. It'd be a crazy thing to do. In my opinion, Barcelona is praying for the Super League. They have one, possibly 2 different signings. Bloated team now. Spotify owns them, is what's been said in that comment there. Thank you, by the way, to Daz for becoming an official member of the Football Terrace. He's become a squad member, so you'll be able to get access to that preview later on today. It should be later on today that we release that for our members. The criminals here are Leicester for the 70 millions for Fofana. That's a stick. Do you know what's really funny? It's like certain players cost loads of money and it's acceptable. Other players cost like loads of money and it's like a disgrace how much is being paid for it. Paid for them. It's mad. I love how the angle gets changed depending on what club it is and who they are and everything else. Tuchel has got fully backed. Tuchel should work on his strategies or his strategies, or he would be relieved of his duties, is what AB has got to say here. Lee Gunner must be excited again. He can roast the club again now that he has his content. I mean, yeah, he'll probably rip into Arsenal for having a bad window. I want to say a big thank you. We've got another member signing up today. Man like PG. Thank you, my friend, for becoming an official member of the Terrace. It means it's always humbling, always very, very humbling to see people become members. It very much is. But there we go. Barca fans want United and Chelsea to pay their debts. Yeah, I know. It's crazy. It's crazy, and it was never going to happen. Move to Liverpool. I want to hear your opinions. We can talk Liverpool. We can talk Liverpool, and I will speak Liverpool. And I'll be really blunt about Liverpool. Listen, the two youngsters have signed. Excellent. You've already kind of seen. Well, Carvalho especially. You've seen the way he's started the season. Every time he's come on, he looks very good. He looks very talented in that regard. I do think Darwin Núñez is a good signing, and I'm not going to move away from that and suddenly pretend that he isn't. I don't know much about Calvin Ramsey, so I'm not going to really pass too much of an opinion on him right now. But I think that Núñez and Carvalho, for the different stages of their careers, very good pieces of business. But then that was it. That's all they did. They left it. They left it. They left it. And you end. It's very rare. It feels rare because you're not ever spoken about to see Liverpool scrambling around the day to go, signing for me. Look, Arthur is very talented technically as a footballer, and there was always, 4, 5, 6 years ago, this player was tipped to go on and be one of the best midfielders in Europe. Whether or not Liverpool can turn that round, get his career back on track, get him back to the very top, for me, remains to be seen. I don't know if he's got the ability to do that. I don't know if he has got the ability to do that, and we will see. I think in terms of Liverpool's window, um, the worst in the Premier League. It's been the worst window in the Premier League of all 6 clubs. For me, I would go in order of Man City have had the best, and I'm teetering. I haven't decided yet. It's Arsenal and Liverpool in second and third. Man United fourth, Tottenham fifth, Liverpool sixth. That's how I would put it. That's how I would do it. 110%. Liverpool, if they would have gone and just bought themselves a proper midfield player, along with Núñez, and I still, you've got Ramsey and you've got Carvalho there, but they needed more than that for me. They needed more than that for me. They nearly won a quad. They lose Mane. They lose Minamino. They lose Williams. They lose Divock Origi. And I'm just looking at these are all players that were important to them from a rotation point of view. And they bring in Darwin Núñez. They bring in Carvalho and Ramsey. It's like you haven't replaced enough people. You've replaced the bodies that have left with quality, but you haven't gone to that next level to win the Champions League again and to surpass Man City, who did brilliantly in the window. And on top of that, you've got all these teams behind you: Arsenal, Tottenham, Chelsea, Man United. Maybe we're a little bit behind. Have all invested well. And again, just because you're fifth or fourth or fifth on the list doesn't mean you haven't done good things this window. And it's like everybody's catching you up, but you haven't done enough to catch up the team that were in front of you in terms of winning the league. So it for me, is the worst window. Liverpool Football Club have had the worst window out of everybody. I'm not going to yield on that. City first, Liverpool bottom. Has to be that way. So, yeah, let me reiterate that. City first, followed by Chelsea, followed by Arsenal, Man United in fourth, Spurs fifth, Liverpool sixth. That's the way I would rank the window as of right now. And as I say, Liverpool Football Club, I think Darwin Núñez could be an excellent goal scorer for them. I think young Carvalho and Ramsey have got brilliant futures ahead. But to be scrambling around on deadline day for a player that you haven't been linked to, that none of your fans are talking about, none of your press has spoken about, out the blue, not an average player as such, but just an out of the blue player on loan, I don't believe with any option to buy, is panic buy central. And you haven't moved the envelope enough, in my opinion, to catch Man City that were just better than you last year. And your other domestic rivals around you have invested well, have spent money, and have improved their teams and improved their squads to a point where they are going to look to catch you. I just think Liverpool's owners, stroke Jurgen Klopp, have dropped the ball this summer, and they are going to rue it because they're not going to win the league. They're not going to win the league, and Liverpool not winning the league is a failure domestically. Will they make the top 4? Most likely. They've still got world-class players and one of the best managers in the world. But I do think and I do believe that this summer is a disaster for them, the worst of the top 6, and will impact their Premier League season as far as challenging and winning the title is concerned. But I would love your thoughts and I'd love your feelings on it, people. Where would you rank out of 10 Liverpool's transfer window? I want to know from you now on that. I want your thoughts. One sec. I want your thoughts and your feelings, my friends. I really, really do. Fab tweeted that Liverpool have an option to buy. Okay, so there is an option to buy. So I obviously didn't see that piece of information yesterday. As I said, I didn't see that yesterday. And I spoke to like 3 or 4 Liverpool fans on the call-in shows yesterday, and I've just Googled, I've just searched option to buy. Oh yeah, 12 hours ago. What was I doing 12 hours ago? I don't know. The Juve statement reveals that Liverpool do have an option of making the loan move permanent for a fee of nearly. Okay, yeah, there we go. So that's not actually that's. I'll address that and say fair enough. I've just learned that, but still, and that's a little more sensible. In fairness, when he first tweeted out Fabrizio, he said no option to buy included. That's why I saw it. But yeah, listen, I think the fact there's an option to buy makes it slightly better, because at least if he's excellent for you, you can buy him. You'd never want to make him excellent again, get him back to his best, and then he goes away. But yeah, for me, yeah, I don't think it's that good. So what? That's why it's called deadline day. Are you supposed to? Are you not supposed to buy? Well, I'm not saying you're not supposed to buy, but when you're scrambling around for a player that you haven't been looking at all summer, it's different if Arthur Melu and Liverpool have been in negotiations for 6 weeks and it went down to deadline day. But to just do it on deadline day after saying all summer that you didn't need a midfielder is panic. And that Liverpool are not synonymous with that in recent years. You've been so well run. Liverpool had a bad summer. I don't think you can get away from it. I don't think you can get away from it myself. As I say, Manchester City, best summer, followed by Chelsea in second, Arsenal third, Man United fourth, Spurs fifth, but Liverpool are rock bottom of the top 6 this window. Good signing in Darwin Núñez. Some nice youngsters for the future in Carvalho and Ramsey. Arthur Melo, a decent player, but loaned in on the final day of the season. Yes, there's an option to buy, but a player that nobody was talking about, hasn't really been on Liverpool's wanted list, and the Liverpool media might try and spin it that way. They might try and say, actually, they've been scouting him for 2.5 years now, blah, blah, blah. I won't personally believe that. Someone will be scouting for an article from 3 years ago that was linking Liverpool to them, say, see, he's always been a link. But it's a panic buy at the last minute. And as I've already stated, City have improved dramatically by adding Haaland, by adding Calvin Phillips to their team, and Alvarez. You've got Chelsea and Arsenal and Tottenham that have improved their squads. That are getting, Arsenal and Tottenham especially, that are looking so good this year. Man United have done well. They won't catch Liverpool this season by the end of the campaign, but they're improving. But Liverpool haven't moved the envelope enough to catch Manchester City this year. In fact, I think they might fall further behind Manchester City this year in terms of where they're challenging. And I've stated this many, many times, and I'll say it again. If Liverpool are not challenging for the Premier League title or not winning the Premier League title, it's a bad season by the standards they've set. Liverpool Football Club only deal in trophies. And if you're not challenging for those trophies or winning those trophies, you're not doing well. And I think a lot of Liverpool fans have been very outspoken and very disappointed. There are a lot that are still towing the party line and saying that, no, it's all going to be okay. We trust the plan and process. It was not a shock to me to see information come out late last night, as soon as the window shut. Jude Bellingham is the #1 target in the summer of 2023 for Liverpool. They do this every time they shut the window and don't sign a major target, especially that the fans want. The statements come out, who they're targeting next time, who they're going to get next time. And it kind of distracts fans. But I think Liverpool's owners, the board and Klopp to a degree, have let the supporters down. They haven't strengthened the squad enough. And because of that, they won't be winning the Premier League this season. And that's a big U-turn for me, because I thought Liverpool were going to be much better this year than they've started the campaign. But you can just see the problems. And they're worried about the problems on the pitch, because they've kind of panicked. They've panicked in the final moments themselves and tried to get in these players and everything else that's going on. Liverpool must feel like the second best team of an era, like the second team to the Bulls in the 90s. Yeah, and unless you're a diehard basketball fan, who was that? Are there any Netflix documentaries about them? Are there any, does anybody talk about them? They don't, do they? By the way, we got another couple of new members that signed up. I want to find you details. Sorry, I was talking when you guys were doing your thing and I missed it. Sorry, hang on. I'm going to sneeze as well. Thank you to Lee. Thank you very, very much, my friend. Oh, I'm going to sneeze and I don't want to sneeze. I'm trying to hold it in. You know when you got to sneeze, but you're trying not to. There we go. Thank you, Lee. You've become I'm going to find it on my screen here, an academy member of the Football Terrace. So thank you very much. And of course, we've got Varam Warrior as well has become a first team member of the Terrace. You're an absolute legend for doing that, my friend. Sarim here, who's a Liverpool fan, says, let's be real. Arthur signing was FU Liverpool fans. You've got a midfielder. Now stay in your lane. Disgraceful is what Sarim Iqbal has got to say. Arthur could either be Kovacic or Asal Naguez. Could go either way. Yeah. Terry, you are setting the wrong precedent by overpaying for Anthony. You did what you could to back your manager, so why not step at Frankie de Jong? You do what you can. So you remember the transfer fee of a player doesn't impact the dressing room, because that's a transaction between two football clubs. Anthony's not getting that money. That doesn't impact Anthony and what he's earning. If Anthony came into Man United, but the only way to get him was to put him on 450, 500 grand a week, that creates a dynamic in the dressing room which causes problems. The other attackers go, hang on a minute, he's on 100, 200, 300 grand more a week than us. They may get on with him. It may not cause a negative dynamic, but the other element that it can create a problem with, so it could create a negative situation, but the players might accept it. But then what happens if the team starts doing better and then all the players want their contract renewals and they all turn around and go, we want the same money as Anthony? And they're all performing similarly. That you can't have a team with that many players on those high wages. You know why, Abdul? Because then you end up in the situation Barcelona are in, where you're having to sell your soul to the devil to stay alive. So Man United overspending on a transfer fee is cheaper than overspending on wages over a period of time. It's Barca's wages that have crippled your football club far more than the transfer fees that you paid for players. Far more than the transfer fee that you paid for players. So, my friend, nice try, but we ain't playing your club debts off, and we were absolutely right to. Gutted we didn't get the player, but Man United were absolutely right not to do that, my friend. And you can't convince me otherwise, because you know what I'm saying is right. Your club nearly went bankrupt for overpaying wages to people. And then if Griezmann's on 800 grand a week or whatever he was earning, when you sign a player who's similar to the profile and the status as him, he can't come in and go, yeah, I'll earn 150 grand a week. He's like, no, I want 500 grand a week, 600 grand a week. And then you end up at a point where it takes one bad situation financially and suddenly you can't afford shit anymore. You had to sell your TV rights off. You've had to sell your souls. Do you know what I mean? Weddings at half time on match days and shit, bruv. If top six finishes in different league positions to how you rate the window, would you not change your opinion of the window? Yes and no. Liverpool aren't finishing sixth because I think they've had the worst window. I still think Liverpool will come second because there's where you start from. The way you change your opinion on the window is based on how the new signing is. So if Arthur Melo comes in and fucking hell, he's brilliant, then you change how good Liverpool's window was in actuality. Man United are fourth. But if Casemiro and Anthony and Lisandro Martinez are three of the best players in the Prem this season, Man United's window is better. If Haaland ends up spending the whole season injured, Alvarez bombs and Calvin Phillips doesn't play, it's actually been a bad window for City. So, of course, once the season ends, you'll reassess how good the windows were, but you can only predict now based off what you think. It's all on paper and theory right now. Absolutely. But league position plays a part, but who impacted that league position? Did you get my point yet? So I think it's a good challenge to raise, my friend. It really, really is. There we go. Barca go and overpay for Bakayoko, as you always do. Barca both overpaid on wages and signing fees. Coutinho, Dembele, Griezmann all flopped. All cost massive transfer fees and got huge wages. Yeah, but the reason they couldn't sell them on and make their money back on the transfer fees because of the high wages create a bigger problem than the fee. If Man United sign Anthony now for like 100 million, if he has an average season, you could still sell him for at least half the money you bought him for to someone else in Europe. But if he's on to 600 grand a week in salary, you can't get rid of him. The reason that Man United have had so many deadwood players at the club is because their salary is double, 3 times as much as their quality. You can't get rid of them. So then you end up paying millions of pounds a year to players that you don't want in your team and nobody wants to buy them. Salaries are more dangerous financially to a club than the transfer fees. How do I know this? Because all the financial experts tell us this on a regular basis. So listen to the financial experts. Stop listening to journalists and content creators. That's ironic because I am one. But I'm not talking through my own experience. I'm parroting what the professionals and the experts say on this matter. So I'm not wrong. Prove the experts wrong and I'll change my mind. Don't prove me wrong. Prove the experts wrong. Finally, Terry worked it out. No one is signing Anthony for 50 million. Well, we didn't buy him for 50 million pounds. We bought him for 80. I reckon if he had a decent season, but he weren't really cutting it, you could get between 30 and 40 million pounds for him. How do I know that? Wolves just got 44 million for Gibbs White. Just got 40 million for Gibbs White. Why is a West Ham fan saying Arsenal is finished when their club only secured 2 Premier League goals all season? The best transfer this window is Terry's hair transplant. Looking good. Thank you very much. I'm going to get it trimmed today. See, it's still growing through in certain areas. Like it's still a bit patchy and it takes time. So there's loads of like stubbly bits coming through, but it's doing well. I'm going to get it cut a little bit shorter today, get reshaped, and then let it grow through. It's still got like just under a year, about 9 months of sticking it out to do. So yeah, I'm happy with it. Thank you. But there we go. There we go. People love to say we overpaid for Anthony, but want to mention the fact that we got Malacia for 12 million and he looks brilliant. Well, that's it as well. You also got to understand, Man United have spent a fair amount this summer, but it isn't like we've spent like astronomically more than other top clubs, and it's all relative. And in terms of the price for a player, as long as they deliver, they warrant the transfer fee. The problem is with salaries is that they cause problems even if the player is delivering, because everybody else wants more money and it causes an issue. It's one of the reasons why last summer Chelsea pulled away from Haaland, because of how much salary Haaland wanted. It was like £500,000. And one of the things that Chelsea were considering is that means loads of players are going to want similar money and you actually can't afford it. So you've got to be very, very mindful of that. Very, very mindful indeed. Terry, convinced me how we Liverpool are going to get second. I'm not convinced. I still think you got a very good team. I still think you got a world-class manager, and I think that's going to, stand you in good stead. I think you will find form. People always take my criticism to the nth degree, that think, oh, you said we've been poor start, therefore we're going to finish 10th. No, I still think you'll come second, but there we go. Listen, people, we're back later today. 12th Man show, previewing the Merseyside derby, and of course, Man United versus Arsenal. We've got Straight Facts with Jessica Black and I later this afternoon as well, so make sure you're staying tuned. Please hit the like and the share button before you go, and thank you to everybody yesterday who signed up to our partners at NordVPN on the Top 6 show. If you haven't done that yet, I'm actually going to share the link with you for it now. The reason that I'm saying that is this: 2-year plan with some big discounts and 4 months free, 30-day money-back guarantee. But I was talking about it on the show yesterday. It's always easier for me to talk about these things when it's just you guys and me. And I'm going to post that the link into the comment section now. I'm even going to pin it up for you for a minute. When you finish the stream, go and sign yourselves up. Go and speak to your parents if you need to, get permission from them and get them to sign you up. Protects you, stops you from getting, stops hackers, stops your details being stolen. But there's some really fun stuff you can do with it outside of protecting yourself. So I know a lot of you say, oh, Terry, I love YouTube at the adverts. I'd love to, how do I download your videos and listen to them on the go? YouTube Premium. So I've done this. This is great. When I use YouTube now on my phone, I put my VPN to Argentina. 89 pence per month for YouTube Premium. YouTube Premium for 89p per month. So then I can sit there with my iPhone. So I like listening to music. I put it on my iPhone. But you listen to music and every time a new song comes on, there's a bloody advert in between. Stops it from happening. That's a brilliant thing. Also, what I've done is there are certain companies around the world. So the Thai company that have Premier League football, it's like $6.99 a month for all the Premier League games, including the 3 o'clock games. You just switch you switch your VPN to Thailand. You sign up to their package. And then whenever you want to watch a Premier League game, you just turn your VPN and put it in Thailand, and you'll be able to watch the games. And by the way, all completely legal, not illegal streams, clear streams as well. Brilliant stuff. So there's some great stuff you can do with a VPN provider. There's more outside of that, but there's some of the things that I'm using it for. Plus, it's great for you should see the movies that the USA and Canadian Netflix have compared to the UK version. So if you're in the UK, it's brilliant. It can be used for all of this. So I don't really care if you've already got a VPN provider. Switch yourself across to NordVPN. The link is been pinned into our comment section. Go and get yourself signed up to that, and we'll chat to you all again soon. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless, and I'll see you all again soon. Thank you.